Hello, and welcome to Two Profs in a Pod. I'm Tanisha.
I'm Beth.
And we are professors and also faculty developers here at Glendale Community College in Arizona.
We love talking about teaching, learning, and other fun stuff.
And we are so excited to just continue where we left off last time. Where did we leave off, Beth?
Last episode, we started an interview with Dr. Leyba Ruiz, the president of Glendale Community College in Arizona. And this time we are going to go ahead and continue with the second part of that interview. Tanisha?
And we hope you enjoy.
Are you working on ways, like as you're reading this book, are you thinking of ways that you can help us and push us toward this new vision? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think that's the exciting thing. So when I was the interim for 2 years, you're kind of restricted. You don't want to make too many changes, you just don't make too many changes, right? But now that I'm your permanent president, there's a lot of things. And I know this might make people crazy. But leadership 101, okay? Here's a leadership lesson. You always have to be true to who you are.
Right.
Right? Your values and your beliefs are what form who you are as a leader. And I am a teacher. The heart of who I am a teacher. But I also tend to be a little competitive. So when I read these books, and when I hear that ASU, who are innovative, they are a research mega house, and rightly so. But they are also looking inwardly at how they teach their content. And so now they are promoting innovations in the classroom, which, quite frankly, I believe is our wheelhouse.
Absolutely.
And that's where we should always be innovative in the classroom, because we are a teaching and learning institution. We are not a research institution.
Right.
We value the scholarship of teaching and learning. And so that's our wheelhouse. And so it's when ASU, and I'm glad they're doing this as a proud Sun Devil, I am glad that they are looking at how they teach what's in the classroom as a blended activity, blended active learning. And they have great results to show that students who are engaging in a blended active learning class have higher success rates. That's fantastic, but that's our wheelhouse.
Right.
And so, yes, my vision for what does GCC look like in the future is exactly that. It's challenging, it's engaging, it's high expectations, but helping our students get there, helping our faculty stretch beyond. So, we're thinking, in fact, we are going to have an innovation fund. And this innovation fund, I know CTLE has an innovation fund, right? So we're going to piggyback off of what you guys are doing, maybe infuse more money into what you are already doing, right?
Yes.
Because this, and I really believe that the innovation taps get turned on, right? Somebody starts doing something innovative, and this is what humans can do that computers can't, right? You take that idea and you go, oh, what if I tweak it just a little bit?
Right.
What if that gives me an idea for something else?
Yeah.
Humans can do this, robots cannot. And so if we turn on those innovation taps, and if we believe this, and then we need to support it, right?
Right.
I love it.
If this is our mission, then let's put some money behind it. Let's get some innovations in the classroom. Let's encourage everyone to, find ways to teach in a way so that our students are robot proof. How's that?
I think that's great. Yeah. Thank you.
I learned something new.
What's that?
That you're competitive.
Oh, yes.
And I love that.
Yes.
I'm very competitive. I like to be number one.
I hate
But
being
I mean,
last.
like all of us.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Which is why...
Team.
Yes.
Yes.
The only way we're going to move forward is if we all do this together, which is why when we share our data on our NCC BP data, our National Community College Benchmark Project data, and we are not number one. When our sister colleges are all bellwether finalists, or Aspen finalists, and not Glendale Community College, oh, that just drives me crazy.
Me too.
Because we are a powerhouse. So we just have to look at what we are doing and make sure we get the credit for it, the props for it, because we're awesome.
Yeah, and we know we're amazing.
Agree.
Right.
So,
and we have some work to do, undoubtedly.
Oh, yeah,
we have some work.
absolutely.
But if we own it, if we
Yes.
own that, then we will surpass everybody. That's the competitive side. Sorry, Beth.
No, I think that's great.
No.
Thank you.
No.
So for the next piece, I kind of wanted to I had this thought about what you talked about, challenges of our students. So our students have challenges, but also, the bigger picture when we look at higher education as a whole, faculty and staff also have challenges as well. At GCC here over the years, we've had challenges on a local level, regional level, national level. There's so many levels. So the next question is really, how do you plan on advocating for faculty and staff during your tenure as president?
So I think it starts with trust.
Yes.
So I think we need to do a little bit of rebuilding of trust. I think, and I'm not quite sure, so many things are out of our control. So I like to tend to focus on the things that we can control. And we can control the level of trust that should be there between all of us, between our students and our faculty, between our faculty and administration, between our staff and administration, between staff and faculty. And so somewhere along the line, things got a little broken. And so one of the first things I want to start doing is rebuilding that trust, because we're all here for our students. Right. I firmly believe that. We are all here for our students. So that's our common thread that links us. I'm not here to, the normal presidency the normal tenure for presidency is 3 to 5 years. That's what the data shows. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all are stuck with me longer
No,
than that.
Okay, but is that because they go somewhere else as president?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
sometimes they also retire too as well.
Well,
like
3 to 5,
some,
yes,
Some do,
Some
but for the
do.
most part they move on.
Most part
Okay.
they move on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of retirements here in Maricopa, but not because they've only been here for 3 years. I just think, But nationwide, the data shows that a normal tenure for presidents is 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
And then they move on to something else. Well, I'm a hometown girl. I forgot to mention that. I'm not born here, but I've lived here since I was 3. I lived in South Phoenix, raised in South Phoenix. I still live in South Phoenix.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and I always think of Glendale. Every time I drive down Glendale Avenue, I always think I'm driving down South Central, because to me, it's one and the same. It's the same community. We serve the same students, the same demographics.
Yes.
It's all the same community. So I have no plans to go anywhere. And because I don't have plans, to go on to something beyond a president, I'm not trying to make Terry look good.
Yeah.
It's not about Terry. I am your president. My job is to serve you. My job is to serve our students. My job is to ensure that GCC has what we need so we can serve our students and our community. I think I need people to start believing that, because I'm not sure when I say that, people kind of look at me like, well, sure. But this is not about me. This is about what I can do to help move GCC forward so our students are robot proof, right?
Yeah.
But as your advocate, and I will be your number one advocate, but when I was the vice president of student affairs, I told my staff this as well. So all my managers and all the frontline staff, I will be your number one advocate. But that means I also have very high expectations. I have expectations in how we serve our students. Are we consistent? Are we following all policies? And are we keeping our students safe? But as your president, those same 3 things apply. Are we consistent? Are we following all policies and regulations so that nobody gets in trouble?
Right.
And are we keeping our students and each other safe? I will be your number one advocate, but I will have very high expectations. But in order for me to be your advocate, I have to know what's going on. And so
Right.
I've learned I am a micro-knower, not a micromanager. I don't want to tell you how to do your job, but I want to know everything about your job. Not because, again, I don't want to get into your daily operations of it, but that's the best way I can be your advocate.
Right.
Because if I know what's happening, then when I'm at a board meeting or I'm out in the community meeting with our community partners, I can speak with firsthand knowledge of who GCC is and what's important to our faculty. I love when I get invited into the classroom and I see some amazing things happening. And people are busy and schedules get tight, but as often as I can, I love to get into the classroom. Going out to see when we have, at GCC North, we have Science Night, or Look at the Stars Night. I forget what it's called, but it's so much fun. And it's our students who are doing the presentations on the telescopes. We have like 6 GPS telescopes. Oh. Getting out and listening to the students, they'll lock on to Mars or Jupiter or Venus or something, and then the GPS telescope tracks it as the night wears on. And the students are so well informed, or our chemistry faculty who are doing, fluorescent blow-ups at night, which is just really cool, and cool physics things happening. I will be the number one advocate because I'm a micro knower. I want to know what's happening so I can speak to it. And so it starts with, while we can't control what happens on a national level for sure,
Right.
or even at a local level, and policies get passed outside of any influence that I might have. And we know that policies are passed through our governing board. What we can control, we should own. And we can control what happens at GCC. We can control how we treat each other, how we value each other, how we encourage each other, and how we hold each other accountable. We're talking about going down, I'll talk about guided pathways for a little bit. So guided pathways is going to have a tremendous impact on our students because right now the student who, any student who comes to us and they're like not quite sure what they want to do, and so they wander around. We know our data shows that students who graduate with an associate's degree, a 65 credit hour degree, have upwards of 80 to 90 credit hours. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's 20 some credits that they took that they didn't need to take, that time and money, something that, two resources we have, very little of, time and money. So our students are taking classes they don't need, they're not getting the right guidance. So our world is going to change. Guided Pathways is going to help get us there. Along that pathway, do you remember I said this a couple of years ago? We're going to hit 75%.
Yes, I
right?
remember that.
Okay.
I was at that. I was there that day.
Yeah, that was just a couple months ago, I believe.
So what made me get to that number is right now, for all of our new first time to college students, for us, for GCC in the fall, that's about 3,500 students. That's a lot. After 3 years, only 25% of them have graduated or transferred somewhere else, but they're still in school, right? Only 25%. That puts us at like the 19th percentile in the nation. The national average is 37%, which I still think stinks, right? What that's saying is 25%. 1 out of every 4 of those students, 1 out of 4 will graduate or transfer. Well, I'm sorry, that's just unacceptable.
Right.
So, hey, go big or go home, right? I told you I'm competitive. So
Right.
we're going to do a 75%. So we're going to flip that and say 75% of our students, first time new to college students, will transfer or graduate within 3 years. That's an incredibly high number. There are community colleges in the nation who have hit that mark,
Right.
but they're usually very specific technical colleges. But universities who've gone the Guided Pathways model, they've hit that mark.
Okay.
So Guided Pathways is going to help. And I know that this makes people anxious when I talk about 75%, because it's like, how are we going to get there? It's going to take a lot of hard work is how we're going to get there.
Well,
it's going to take a lot of hard
exactly.
work.
Yeah.
And people say, well, Terry, our students, maybe they're just not, college ready. To which I say, well, yet they're here.
Right.
Yeah.
They're here.
Right.
Do you know how hard it is? Actually, I'm asking, do you really know how hard it is to enroll in a class? Well, Tanisha, you're one of our students.
I know, former student.
Former student.
And it was, when you have no clue, especially me,
Yeah.
when I was a first generation college student, and you're trying to work with advisors, but it's kind of like you're feeling your way in the dark. So quite a bit of energy is just trying to figure things out in
Right.
the system and the process and the programming and taking the right class and taking it at the right time. So, I can kind of see how someone, if they're not like maybe driven or motivated or determined, or they're kind of like have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like they come across that first barrier and they're like, I'm done.
Right.
So if you can
Yeah.
kind of help to kind of overcome that initial hump, I think that will help to retain some of those students in the initial process.
So exactly. So, and even with all of how difficult it is to actually become a student, to get enrolled and go through the financial aid process and all of those hoops, still, we have 3,500 students new
Right.
to GCC each fall. 3,500 students decided
That's
to
a lot.
stick it out.
And that's
Yeah.
a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So
Yeah.
talk about tenacity and persistence right away, right?
Right.
And yet we're losing 75% of them, or 75%. I don't know where they are,
Right.
but after 3 years, they haven't graduated or transferred.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, they're here. They made a choice, a decision to come here. So let's keep 75% of them. Now, granted, 25%, life happens. Life
Right.
happens. And,
Right.
and we know our students' lives are complicated and anything can upset their apple cart. But I don't want what upsets their apple cart to be something that we did, something that maybe we didn't do in our enrollment center or our financial aid, or something that maybe they had a bad experience somewhere. I don't want those who leave because of something we did.
Right.
If they leave, it's because life's
Happened.
challenges.
Right.
Life happened. Right.
Right. But there are sometimes instances where you hear about students who leave because of maybe an interaction with
Yes.
faculty, or sometimes like students are sitting there and they're in class and they feel, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yes.
I don't belong here. And I think that is really a feeling a lot of people have. It's like, I'm not supposed to be here. I don't belong here. Especially, I think, in higher education as a whole. And I'm trying to, in a very subtle way, segue into our next question, which has to do with what we know that some students experience, which is actually imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
Right, where you feel like, even though they have the skills, they have the talent, they despite that evidence, they feel like, I'm not supposed to be here. And I think faculty, staff, students, a lot of people experience this. So that's one of the reasons why we want to talk about that in our next episode. We want to talk about imposter syndrome.
Yes.
So that helps me to segue into the next question is, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if you're not familiar with imposter syndrome is I think the best way to really describe it is when you feel like you're in a place or a space where you feel like you don't belong, even though evidence shows that your skill sets, your talents, your test scores, your achievements, your awards show that you do, you still feel like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So have you ever experienced that?
Gosh, yes.
And what was your experience with imposter syndrome?
I never knew there was a word for it until 10 years or so ago, and it was really validating. First of all, there's a syndrome for this, for what I feel. Well, that makes me feel better, and I wonder if this is more prevalent in women than in men.
It is, yeah.
That was just a hunch.
Yeah.
No, we looked up some
it is.
information in preparation, and we found women experience it,
and minority.
Yes.
Minorities, especially if you think about the combination of the two, right? Women and minorities, more specifically women of color.
Yes.
And just flat out academia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All the time. When I was a student at ASU and I was studying to be a math teacher, this was, 30 years ago, and I would be one of the few women, but I would be the only Latina in those calculus classes.
Yeah.
And calculus is just the beginning to become a math teacher. It's calculus is your starting point, and then you just go from there. I know, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
But I would be one of the few women, and certainly the only Latina in those classes, and talk about feeling like I don't belong, and because I felt I didn't belong, I was too embarrassed to ask a question, because then you'd really know I don't belong, which is silly, because you should ask questions. You should always ask questions. And then when I became a math teacher, and the first time I taught trigonometry, it's like, oh my gosh, you're caught off guard, because I took these classes. I should be able to teach them, but I don't think you really know your material until you teach your material.
Right.
So there have been many times, in the classroom, as a student, in the classroom, as an educator, and as I made that transition to an administrator, all the time have I felt like I was an imposter. When I first became the interim president, all I could think of was, oh my gosh, they don't know I'm just a kid from the South Side and I'm not supposed to be here. That's all I could think. But you grow into your job.
Yeah.
You grow into your job, and that imposter syndrome, while I don't feel that way all the time anymore, there are times when I think, oh my gosh, am I really supposed to be here? And in many aspects, for me, myself, I am at the pinnacle of my career. I have achieved what I've worked towards for 16 years.
Right.
To become a president of a community college where I know I can make a difference in the lives of our students and our community we serve every single day. So there's times when I think, I don't know what I'm doing. But then I think, stop, and I think of what my dad always taught me, is work hard. Work hard. You can read, can't you? Figure it out.
Yeah.
You can read, figure it out, ask questions, learn, and grow. And that imposter syndrome, put that bad boy aside, because you belong where you are.
Right.
So.
That's so important and really valuable, I think, to a lot of people. I think for some, imposter syndrome is something that's fleeting, like it comes and goes. There are moments where you feel amazing and you're like, yes, I'm supposed to be here. Like, look what I've done. I belong here.
And then
right?
you move on to your next challenge
Then
and it
you-
starts all over again.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
Exactly.
your next period of growth.
Right, and you wonder, am I supposed to be here? I think for even some people, it's more chronic, where it's just a consistent sense of anxiety or feeling like you don't belong. But it's like you said, like what you said with what your dad said, right? Just work hard. You can read, can't you? Figure it out, right? That type of advice, I think, is very, very helpful to many who I'm sure experience it often.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's great.
Thank you.
Man, this has been so valuable. I was so excited when you agreed to do this podcast. I was like, Terry's coming. And something stuck out to me that you mentioned earlier when you talked about how you are here to serve and how it's not about Terry. It's about the students. It's about the faculty. It's about the staff. It's about being an advocate.
Well, I am honored, super honored that you guys asked me to be part of your podcast. I love it. 2 profs in a pod.
Yeah.
I love it. You have lots to share. You have lots of knowledge. And thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
thank
you. Thank you for your time.